Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, August 8th, 2013, and this is Flashpoint Radio. I am your host, Jay-Z, and I thank you for joining me. On tonight's edition, we'll look at one of my most hated government institutions, that being the Internal Revenue Service, and we will see how that leads us to a discussion on children, my child, your children, children in general in this country, and how the government views them, and the difference between family and government. We will start this evening, though, because we have a lot of stories with the IRS. Most of these stories go back a few months, but they are still very much important and need to be followed. First, from CNN, Issa accuses IRS of obstruction, warns of consequences. Yes, Darrell Issa, the GOP representative from California that is always warning and threatening the Democrats and the liberals and the socialists and the communists and the big government people in this country, warned them again back in July about obstructing when it comes to the IRS scrutinizing patriot groups or conservative groups. Well, don't hold your breath. Darrell Issa never got anything done about Fast and Furious, so I would think he's not going to get anything done about this. Moving along to BuzzFeed.com. This is a story out of San Francisco, and it just shows the difference between big corporations and you. How many retweets is San Francisco's tax break? When giving back means encouraging people to use your product, everybody wins. Oh, isn't that nice? Well, it turns out that they've been giving tax credits to businesses in San Francisco for doing community service. All eyes are on Twitter, which is getting the largest tax break, estimated to be around $22 million over the course of the multi-year agreement. So far, Twitter has come through on its promises, particularly with an extensive volunteering job and $75,000 in donations. Well, they gave away $45,000 worth of promoted tweets. Not sure if that's included in their $75,000 worth of donations, but even if it's not, what is that? $120,000 given to get a $22 million tax break sounds like a system that is fair and equitable to me. WashingtonPost.com, IRS mistakenly exposed thousands of Social Security numbers. An audit from a watchdog group reveals that the agency unwittingly posted more than 2,000 Social Security numbers online. Yeah, they are safeguarding your information with the utmost respect to your privacy, just like the NSA. Atlanta Journal-Constitution, AJC.com. Questions raised about IRS Executive Travel. A new report by the Inspector General of the IRS found that a small group of top executives ran up extremely high travel expenses, basically commuting each week to work in Washington, D.C. by plane from around the nation. Executive D, 172 days of commuting, $135,000 of taxpayer dollars wasted to fly this man from his home to Washington, D.C. to probably do nothing and to make people scrutinize those that hate the government. From the Morning Call, the Blasted IRS is blasted again. The IRS is in the hot seat, this time for not investigating whether its employees were buying pornography, romance novels, and Thomas the Tank Engine trinkets with Uncle Sam's credit cards. Yes, they say Uncle Sam's credit cards, but most of you will know that they are your credit cards. The bill gets sent to your house in January or February of every year and is due on April 15th of every year. USAtoday.com, IRS to cancel employee bonuses in cost-cutting. The new head of Internal Revenue Service told employees Tuesday he wants to eliminate employee bonuses in a cost-cutting move. It's about time. That's some good movement from the IRS. But wait. Daily Caller, Union prevents Werfel from canceling IRS bonuses as promised. Once again, you can look to big labor to really gum up the works in this country. Again, the Daily Caller, IRS Employees Union. Please don't make us enroll in Obamacare. Yeah, I have a feeling they'll find themselves getting an exemption from the president as well, while the individuals will not be getting any type of exemption from this communist health care. But why wouldn't the unions fight for the IRS? Another Daily Caller article, IRS employees spending millions of hours in taxpayer dollars on union work. Well, the union works for them, and they work for the union. Problem is, they're working for the union on yours and my dime, on our time. But hey, they do stolen identity refund fraud. This is coming out of Mississippi. They caught 7 people, and the indictment alleges over $270,000 was stolen from the government as a result of this conspiracy. They don't say that it's your money, it's your taxes collected that these people stole. No, it's the government's money, but they caught them. $270,000 stolen. Thank you, government, for catching that fraud. Oh, but wait. Doesn't really even out, does it? From naturalnews.com, IRS sends $46 million in tax refunds to thousands of illegal aliens. So they catch 7 people getting $270,000, but they send $46 million to thousands of illegal aliens. Oh, but I forgot. All claiming the same Atlanta address. Thousands of people claiming the same address and getting $46 million in tax refunds. Sounds like an institution that needs to be protected. Or like Glenn Beck would say, needs to be audited. Or like all the other neocons, needs to be audited. No, it needs to be eliminated. Why? Because the IRS is the funding arm. They're the control arm. They operate on willful consent. You give them the consent to do whatever they want, as long as you pay your taxes on time and don't go over and don't give them too much trouble. Well, I gave them too much trouble, obviously, this last year, and they sent me this letter that says, your IRS tax return was amended. I made an error, and it affects the following area of your return: dependents. And so they took $600+ back from my refund because I had a problem with my dependents. What was that problem? Oh, they don't consider my daughter a dependent. Why? Because I didn't give her a Social Security number. Bet you didn't know that you could actually decide not to give your daughter or son a Social Security number. Well, I found that the last question on the paperwork given to us by our midwife. I saw a check yes, check no, and I obviously checked no because I do not want to sign my daughter up for a contract, put my daughter's name on a contract that she will be responsible for fulfilling for the rest of her life. So I decided not to. Well, the government decided to take $600+ from me. And it's not really taking it from me, it's a bribe. So when you decide not to give your child a Social Security number, they say, we'll give you $600 every year if you give them a Social Security number. It leads to the next section of Flashpoint Radio, this next part of the edition this evening, and that is our kids. Let's look at this video from Melissa HarrisPerry that I believe we played on Flashpoint before, but I'm sure most of you have seen it.
We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
Yeah. Your kids belong to the collective. It takes a village, minus the parents, to raise a child. Yes, if you give willful consent, if you sign your child up for a Social Security number, or if you go get them the vaccines, you say yes to the government requirements for whatever, you're giving consent to the government that they are the end arbiter of your child's life. They own your child, basically. And how do I know that? Well, because they can take it away, your child, at any time. Let's look at some examples. You may have heard of this one from back in April, Fox News. Baby taken from parents who sought second opinion, removed from protective custody. Well, there's a video that I believe you can find in this article. A California couple, Russian citizens, immigrants from Russia, took their 5-month-old to the hospital. Didn't like what the doctor diagnosed him with, and they said, well, we're going to go find a second opinion. Remove their child from the hospital, and CPS came and took their son, had their son for 5 days, and it took a judge to say they did nothing wrong. These are completely healthy parents not abusing their child at all. But when the government speaks, its minions do its bidding. The people, the CPS workers and the police officers barged in and said, I'm taking your baby. Don't fight back or you will be, well, hurt, basically is what they said. It happens more than you'd think. You should probably put your ear to the ground and find out about these stories. Infowars.com, this just came out today. Video of cops slapping 10-year-old boy stirs outrage. This time in Oregon, a YouTube video of a police officer in Oregon slapping a 10-year-old boy as he removed the child from the care of his mother has stirred outrage. Apparently, the mother or the family is not raising this child correctly. not going to school, not reporting to get his vaccinations or his flu shots. And so the cops came and kidnapped the child, which is fine, right? Because, nothing happens in foster care. The government's appointed homes for these children are much better than their own homes, even if they are a tad abusive or if the parents make mistakes in their life. Or maybe not. InfoWars from earlier this week, toddler dies in CPS captivity after being taken from marijuana smoking parents. Yes, some parents partook in cannabis after their daughter, their 2-year-old, was sleeping. They were responsible parents. They smoked cannabis, a plant that grows. It's always grown. It's been here since God created it. Well, their neighbors didn't like that. Their neighbors ratted them out. They saw something and they said something, and something happened. Well, CPS came and took their child, placed the daughter, wonderfully adorable young girl, and very hard story to report on considering I have a daughter around, 14-month-old daughter myself. The first home they put the child in, the child was abused, came for visits with the father, and the father saw signs of abuse. He raised warning flags to the people at CPS, and so they moved him. Well, where'd they move him to? A home that ended up killing their child. Yes, the second foster home CPS placed the child in, ended up beating the child, and that child died. And it turns out, child killed because parents smoked pot, handed over to convicted pot dealer. Yes, the family that is now charged with murder of this daughter, the father has been convicted twice of selling cannabis. Sounds about right. You got punished for smoking cannabis, so we're going to put your child with a drug dealer. There's a reason for this, and it's because the government does everything bad, and everything much worse than any family, even a messed up family. This is from 2007, National Coalition for Child Protection Reform. The evidence is in Foster Care versus Keeping Families Together, the definitive studies. This article states that basically not only are children better off in homes that are receiving care and treatment regarding the way they're treating their child, they're better off in their abusive homes that aren't receiving any care than they are in foster care. You don't believe me? Well, this study quotes made its way to USA Today in 2007. USA Today study, troubled homes better than foster care. Children whose families are investigated for abuse or neglect are likely to do better in life if they stay with their family than if they go into foster care, according to a pioneering study. Yes, the studies are pretty clear. Pretty clear. And if you want a good boil down, you can always look to Infowars.com for a good boil down. This one by Leanne McAdoo. Foster care system traps children into vicious cycle of sex abuse. This says that, one point, a 2011 audit of Sacramento foster care showed that more than 1,000 registered sex offenders matched the addresses of licensed foster care facilities and homes. Yes, it is a business, people. Read this article. Look into the Franklin scandal. Read the Franklin scandal. Look at the movies. Look at everything out there. The government steals kids and then puts them into the sex trade. That's what they do. CPS and foster care, they're a business. $1 billion a year business. Our government has a role in kidnapping children. And you may think that, well, these parents abuse their child. They need to be taken from their parents. No, the community needs to step in and make sure parents know what they're doing. Parents need to be well educated as parents. But they are the parents. The government will never own my child. You will never take my child. The child is mine until that child is old enough to take care of themselves. And then I let them go to become free human beings on this planet. But until then, they're mine. Not yours. Not Melissa HarrisPerry's. No one's. That's just it. We've got evil running through this country, people, and we have to stop it. Hopefully I'll see you sooner than 2 weeks. Jay-Z signing off for Flashpoint Radio saying God bless and keep your eyes to the sky. If you want that, you got